Superman.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Colton Ogburn, and we need to talk about that Superman trailer. I liked it, not as much as Ryan, but I liked it, and I cannot wait for this film to usher in what I believe will be a new age of comic book movies that will redefine the genre for years to come. A little later, I'm going to be joined by some awesome people, friend of the show Tommy Bechtold, Lee Mazzio, Brandon Davis, and DC superfan Cameron Kasky to get their thoughts on this trailer. But first, here are mine. So it's no secret that I am a fan of Henry Cavill's Superman. Don't get me wrong, I think the DCEU was a giant mismanaged mess that cranked out mostly slop, but Cavill's Superman was a bright spot in an otherwise dark and desaturated hellscape. So I will admit that I was a little bummed when it was announced that Cavill wouldn't be Superman anymore, especially after that big tease for his return at the end of Black Adam.
It's been a while since anyone's made the world this nervous.
Now, having said all that, I am also a big fan of James Gunn, and I think it was the right move to reboot the universe and start fresh with something new. And that unfortunately meant that we had to part ways with Cavill as Superman. Now, one thing that this trailer showed us is that they are bringing hope and joy back to the character of Superman, similar to that of the Christopher Reeve films. Now, while I appreciated Zack Snyder's darker and more burdened take on Superman, and I understand that that movie did need to differentiate itself from the Reeves movies and Superman Returns, but I think it is about time that we got back to a more bright and inspiring take on this character. And that appears to be exactly what James Gunn, David Cornsweet, and DC Studios have done with Superman. This trailer feels like a comic book. It feels otherworldly. The MCU and the DCEU, God bless their hearts, they feel like our world with the added layer of superheroes. But this movie is doing something that I haven't really seen done since the Raimi Spider-Man films. It feels like an old school, awe and wonder, aw shucks comic book brought to life. Don't get me wrong, I love how the MCU brings the heroes into our world, but this movie is bringing us into their world. And I think that this is exactly what we've been needing to shake up the superhero genre.
Person, are you biting your lips again?
Yeah, man, even on a day like today with a brand new Superman trailer, I still have this bad oral fixation habit that kicks in when I'm overwhelmed or anxious. So I needed something to help me forget those bad oral fixation habits and replace them with a positive one. That's why I started using Fume, an award-winning filtered air device that's the sponsor of this video.
Does that like use vapor or something?
No, not at all. It's not electronic, so there are no batteries to charge, and it doesn't have pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals. Instead, it has these plant-based cores that are infused with natural flavors to create natural flavored air. Fume contains no nicotine, it's not addictive, and it contains non-toxic flavors. Instead, it contains plant-based flavors like spearmint ice, cinnamon hearts, and my current favorite, crisp mint.
Oh, that's why your breath smells so nice.
Why, thank you, but mostly I like that it still gives me something to reach for when I'm feeling anxious. It even has movable parts for fidgeting that make this incredibly satisfying sound. And Fume continuously invests in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products, and it is backed by doctors in the USA. And hey, maybe you don't have a bad oral fixation habit, but you know someone who does. Fume is a great gift to help them change their habit today. After all, Fume has served more than 300,000 customers like myself, and you can be their next success story. So this holiday season, you can give the gift of better habits with Fume. So head to tryfume.com/ScreenCrush and use the code ScreenCrush to get a free Fume topper when you order a journey pack today. It is the perfect addition to make your gift even more special. And if you're lucky, you could even win one of Fume's limited edition gold-plated devices this holiday season. Again, tryfume.com/ScreenCrush or just scan the QR code on screen to grab yours now and make someone's holiday unforgettable. And hey, while I have you, be sure to check out our brand new It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Your Mom shirt up on the ScreenCrush merch store, screencrushmerch.com. I am joined here by a very packed panel, a super panel, if you will. Tommy, I thought you would like that one.
I do.
Nice little pun for you. Yeah, super pan. But I do kind of feel like I'm Wolf Blitzer or something on CNN right now with so many people. But we have Brandon Davis, Cameron Kasky, Tommy Bechtold, and Lee Mazzio. Lee, I think this is your talkback debut, so that's exciting.
Right.
It is.
And let's talk Superman. I first, I just want to go around, get everybody's thoughts on the trailer. Brandon, would you like to go first?
Oh, I mean, the trailer's great. Like, I think this trailer just rules in every way. It's a great teaser. Really don't know exactly what the story is in any way.
Right.
Lex Luthor hates Superman. Cool, got it. Sounds good. Sounds like what we need. And I think the costume looks great, and the music sounds great. I mean, starting it with a beaten, battered Superman showing already. There's a version of vulnerability to this guy. I mean, I'm in. I think like I had high expectations, and I think this met and exceeded them in some ways.
I'm glad you mentioned the battered Superman. I do have a question about that I want to get to a little later. But Cam, you're one of the biggest DC fans I know. What'd you think?
I think the trailer was, of course, awesome. And I have to say, the most impressive part to me was the way that it balanced a lot of different tones and the way that it showed a lot of different sides of the Superman story we're going to get to see. Somehow in this very compact amount of time, you get these serious stakes. You see a child in a war zone looking to Superman for hope. You see Superman and Lois having these moments that in only a few frames are able to feel tender. You see other superheroes doing comic booky superhero stuff. And you see Superman clearly beat up, and then his dog picking him up and bringing him home. So you get this wide range of all the different things that Superman stories can have, from the heart to the humor to the stakes, in such a short amount of time.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned Crypto, because this teaser, I think, without Crypto in it, I could have seen the argument for, well, what's the difference between this and Man of Steel? Like, I've even seen some people like comparing the teasers and all that and how they look kind of similar. I think Crypto is the one thing that made me go, oh, that they're doing something really different with this Superman. They're really going full blown comic book Superman, and so that got me really excited. Tommy B, what did you think?
Yes. Oh man. I mean, for me, the thing that kicked it off for me was the guitar, the electric guitar Superman theme. Very Top Gun, Top Gun soaring '80s electric guitar. Yes, I loved it. And then I mean, leading off with Crypto, I think was absolutely. Was brilliant, and I just really enjoyed the tease of all of the different characters. When the casting announcements started to roll in, it almost got overwhelming. It was like, how many characters are being introduced in this like first initial new DCU universe? It's like it's an abundance. But I thought the teaser trailer served its purpose. It told us a lot without telling us really anything. Guy Gardner's hair looks absolutely insane, which I love. I think that's phenomenal. And, I just don't know how you could watch that trailer as a comic book fan and not be excited. It just feels like a really a nice, hopeful moment in fandom that I hope we can all rally around. So, I was bullish on it.
It is exciting. And am I the only one, and I could be wrong, did this movie feel like it was made incredibly fast, or is that just me? Like, in terms of, like, when they started shooting and now we have I feel like they just started shooting, like, 6 months ago.
You know what it is, Colton? I think it was made in a fairly regular amount of time, but because of what has happened in the past couple of years with how Marvel has been shooting their movies, the pandemic and the strike, and then things like The Flash, where it took 9 years to make, I feel like this was kind of normal. We've just been in a weird time.
Yeah, it's
I agree. I think maybe the lack of drama surrounding it is what has made it feel fast. The lack of like controversy over it. It's just kind of been been executed as a movie is executed, but that in itself, something going normally, is such a surprise in 2024 that it's almost kind of refreshing that this movie seems to be coming out without incident. Although, as I say that, I'm sure one of the actors is going to be canceled tomorrow, and we're all going to be on here again.
I mean, I think also like that first look at the logo, wasn't that like February?
Yeah.
Or was that April? I think it was like very beginning of the year, and then I went to the Cleveland set, and that was in June, like late June, and then they were still going after that. So I think time is just moving too quickly, man. We're all just getting old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of this, part of this
Gunn,
Go ahead,
was
Lee.
approached in 2018 to do a Superman film, and then he turned it down because he felt like he wasn't ready for it. So I think a lot of the feeling like it's going super fast was on like the audience's end. I feel like this, like Cam was saying, with everything we've just been inundated with, like this movie. I mean, DC just announced Dynamic Duo for like 2028. So I think in the grand scheme of like timeline things, I don't know. I feel like it was perfectly set up to.
I also want to add, part of this, I think, is something James talks about a lot, which is he's not going to start a movie until the script is done. And a lot of these Marvel movies that are plagued with all these reshoots, it's because they're writing the damn thing while they're shooting it. James Gunn finished Superman, and then he started shooting it.
Well, before we get too into the weeds, I do want to ask Lee. Lee, you're also you and Cam, probably the two biggest DC fans I know. So what were your overall thoughts on this trailer?
I mean, like, man, I don't think I've been this excited for a trailer since the last DC Fandom when they showed the Batman trailer. This trailer was everything I needed from a Superman trailer. It showed Superman saving people, which is like the little girl scene. You could show me that in like a 10 seconds, I'm sad. That is my Superman. That is the Superman that I grew up know and love and read. Like, this felt like at the, you know, when you get to the end of the comic book and they can show you little, like, what you're gonna see next week. This felt like getting the artist's blurb of what is coming in the next panel, what is coming in the next issue. Like, this just felt like the comic book was ripped off of the page and put onto the screen. And that's what James Gunn does best. And I think for Superman, that is what we've been missing for a while. And it's so needed, especially now, I would say.
Yeah. And going back to, you know, to Gunn and what we were just discussing, like the actual making of the film, you know, James Gunn comes from indie roots, and this movie kind of has like a little bit of an indie feel to it, which I really appreciated. And before we keep going, Tommy, I wanted to say, I think if any of the actors get canceled, I kind of hope it's the dog. Maybe the dog bites him.
The dog wants to make a coat out of humans this time.
Colton,
to reverse Cruella.
They already tried to cancel him. They said he wasn't the right. The Titans did him better.
People are calling the dog ugly.
Ugly, yeah.
Oh
They're body shaming Crypto the super dog.
Oh my God, the internet's poison. It pays us all though, so keep staying on the internet, everybody. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you guys. So in comics, you know, we've had the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age. I feel like we're in a new age that's about to begin with comic book movies, and that I think this Superman movie has the potential of kicking off. I think the last time we saw like an era begin was 2008's Iron Man. I think that is kind of coming to a close. Like, you know, it's not black and white. There's kind of, you know, the little gray area where, you know, there's not like this definitive stopping point. But I do feel like this Superman movie is really going to reshape, and not just the Superman movie, but the DCU as well. And James
Colton, can I coin something right now? I'm going to coin the next 10 years the Steel Age. It's going to be DCU's ascension to greatness in comic book movies, and it'll start on the back of the Man of Steel, the Steel Age. You heard it here first. Put it on a mug, sell it in the ScreenCrush merchandise store.
And they're going to steal all of Marvel's box office.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal a kiss from David Cornsweat at the premiere. No, I'm not.
I kind of think, obviously DC, I think, is about to be on the upswing if the movie is as good as this trailer alone. But I also think Marvel has a few real big bangers coming. I mean, Fantastic Four is right around the corner.
Yes.
Cap 4 and Thunderbolts are no small potatoes. And then you got, you know, whether you like Downey back as Doom or not, that's a big deal for mainstream moviegoers. And I think Secret Wars is going to be a big moment. I think I kind of fear the golden age of comic book movies has passed in terms of box office, but in terms of quality, I think there's still plenty to come. Like, I think I look at it like wrestling. Like WWE went through a slump, and I know everybody, like, when I say anything negative about the MCU, people dogpile me. But like Deadpool literally acknowledged it. You joined at a little bit of a low point. WWE from like 2018, 2017 even to like 2021 was pretty boring. And then AEW popped up around 2019, 2020. And I think DC is obviously not the equivalent of AEW because AEW is a new company with sort of the leftovers from WWE. But their existence forced WWE to get better. And right now, I'm sorry if nobody watches wrestling and this makes no sense, but WWE is the best it has been since The Rock and Austin were headlining WrestleMania. And I really think that is fueled, at least in part and largely in part, by the existence of competition. So I think Marvel and DC, not that they're going to be competing to try to hold each other down in any way, but I think they're going to be forced to say, we got to put out the best quality stuff because now there is competition. I like a lot of what Zack Snyder did, but mainstream audiences didn't, and it really wasn't a competition. You can't even really compare what the MCU was doing from 2008 to now with, Man of Steel 2013 till through, what was the last, Aquaman 2.
James Gunn said, "A rising tide lifts all boats," and it does
100%.
feel like a stronger Marvel's a stronger DC. And I think one of the reasons I think James Gunn is such a great filmmaker is to know him is to see how much of himself he puts in his projects. He made arguably, in my opinion, the greatest MCU character, a CGI raccoon that you often forget is voiced by a celebrity. And Rocket was him. And the Guardians movies were so much about the rejection of self and the embrace of other people. I mean, the villain in the second movie is literally named Ego. And he's somebody who wants him to be the whole universe. And Peter Quill rejects the Paul Atreides, Luke Skywalker, chosen one narrative and says, I don't care that I'm a demigod. I don't care that I'm a chosen one. My friends and I are what matters, and we're going to save the world. And the reason I say this is because it makes me wonder, what about James Gunn is he going to put in Superman? There's definitely going to be something with the father relationship. James Gunn has lost his father. He's a very emotional person. There's a dog in it. James Gunn loves animals, as we know. But also, this is where we get a little speculative. I think there's a reason that the Justice Leaguers we see have those boring-looking costumes. I think they are in a version of the Justice League International. Maxwell Lord, played by Sean Gunn, probably involved with Stag Industries, which we see in the trailer. It probably has a bit of a corporate Justice League right now. They all have this uniform look, not unlike a lot of superhero movies right now, and they're doing it by the books and sort of, I wouldn't say being cynical, but they're a corporatized version of superheroes. You can see it in their design. And then Superman comes in as this colorful, bright beacon of hope that says, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to... Superman is somebody who can do whatever he wants in this world. He can do anything, and he chooses to be nice because he likes it. And in a very cynical world, and in a world where, anti-heroes have kind of taken over, we can talk about Kingdom Come another time, that is new and that is bold. So I think there is going to be this meta-narrative where the Justice Leaguers that we meet, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho, Mr. Terrific, they're part of this established idea of what superheroes are, and here's this brand new thing coming in to shake things up for the better.
Yeah.
I think Cam hit it right on the nose, though, with that, because, not to bring it back to Kingdom Come, but, Wonder Woman says to him, our generation follows you, and I know Kingdom Come and Superman for All Seasons were both, he was inspired by those comics to make this film, and I think in both of those comics there's such a motive of, Superman, yes, the reason he is super is because he's Clark Kent, not because he's Kryptonian. You can do all these things and you choose to be a hero, and I think Gunn coming in with that perspective, rather than not gonna name names, but this Jesus Christ figure of a superhero who is just obviously he has to be the hero because he is this great and powerful figure, rather than, no, Superman, first thing we see is him down, and he's choosing to get back up and fight for the little guy, which is the foundation of comics in general, that I feel like we have very much so left, and in part with that corporatization of the Justice League. It all fits right in with that.
Well, Lee, expand on that a little more for me, because in our meeting this morning, I asked, am I wrong to not be stoked that our first like shot of Superman was him crashed, bleeding, needing help? And then I pretty much begged you to tell me I was wrong, and you did. Can you expand on that a little for me?
Yeah, no, of course. To me, Superman is just hope, symbol of hope and symbol of perseverance. And I think at its root, any issue of Superman you read, he is just getting back up and fighting. Like, no matter how dire the situation is, no matter how impossible it seems that Superman will come on top, like, he is not this ultra maxed out power guy who cannot be defeated, cannot be killed. We see him get hurt often, and I think starting out with showing, especially following a Man of Steel age, starting out with showing your Superman can also be hurt like me, and this Superman is down for the count. I've also been down for the count. I don't want to fight anymore. I'm giving up. No, this Superman that we're being introduced to is telling you, no, keep fighting, keep going. And I think at the end of the day, that's all I need from Superman. This is the guy who is choosing to be a hero. His mom made his costume. He is a homegrown hero. And yeah, I think starting him off down and out is the way that you have to introduce Superman, especially to people who, I forget who said it, but someone said the reason they couldn't get into Superman was because he always seemed so powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect introduction for, yeah.
Well, Lee, I want it noted that I did let you get away with slandering Man of Steel, by the way.
Of course, of course. You let me get away with a lot, Colton. I appreciate it.
Don't even get me started.
Don't
Only
even
reason
get
I'm not
me
going
started.
harder is because I don't want to be doxxed.
Oh, boy.
I'm about to get you started, but Tommy, please.
Yeah, if I can just add to, one of the things I think that James Gunn, kind of to add on to what Cam was saying and what Lee was saying, is James Gunn is a person that has, admittedly, a big ego, but he's also a person that has gone through a recovery program and sobriety. And one of the big, I'm sober, and one of the big tent poles of sobriety is that you can't do it alone. And so what do we see in the first moment of that trailer is Superman needs the help of Krypto. It's like he needs the help of others. He's Superman. He is the most powerful being on Earth or possibly the universe, and he still needs help. He still needs to rely on other living creatures to help him out. And I think that's kind of at the core of James Gunn's messaging is trying to go at it alone and trying. There's a great saying in the rooms of AA that the program will work if you believe in God. The program will work if you don't believe in God. The program does not work if you are God. And it's Superman can succeed if he. If he believes in others, if he believes in the goodness of others, and if he believes that he can, and if he relies on the help of others. And I think that kind of pathos and that kind of messaging is strong in all of James Gunn's recent films. Maybe not so much Scooby-Doo, but all of the other ones, And even then, the Scooby Gang couldn't do it alone, They needed the help of that mangy mutt and those rascal kids.
Scooby-Doo was great. I don't know what you're talking about. Brandon, you mentioned a second ago that you liked some of what Zack Snyder did, and I did as well. I love Man of Steel. I hate Batman v Superman. I hate pretty much everything else they did after that, but the Snyder Bros, man, and don't get me wrong, there are Gun Bros too. Do you guys think that there are fans who have already decided they're not going to like this Superman movie simply because it's James Gunn directing it and they've abandoned the DCU? I know that's the case. But do you guys think that there is any chance in hell that if this movie is good enough, is it possible that this can save DC? Is DC going to be back? Can it, maybe even surpass Marvel as the more beloved comic book franchise?
We live on Twitter. Most people in the world don't actually know anything about Zack Snyder or the Snyder Cut.
It's so true.
If a random person, if you call an Uber and a random person shows up, I'm willing to bet 9 times out of 10, at least, they're not going to know shit about Zack Snyder or the Snyder Cut or the debate or how Zack Snyder fans, some of them, talk to people online. like or what they've been accused of talking. How like I know obviously there's a part of the Snyder fandom that is not friendly. There's a part of the Snyder fandom that's really great, and they do a lot of good things for charity and all that. So I always make sure to point that out as well. But yeah, there's a part of them that suck, and they respond to everything, and they try to make sure you don't enjoy this thing because they don't enjoy it, and they're not going to let themselves enjoy it. Guess what? It doesn't really matter. Like people who buy tickets to this are the majority of them. If this gets, I don't think this is going to make $1 billion, but let's say it gets anywhere close. $999 million worth of those people are not coming from with knowledge or a care about what came before this, with at least to the degree that the people we see on Twitter do.
Yeah, I think that I watch the Snyder community closely, mostly because it annoys the life out of me. But it's been kind of very interesting to see the Snyder community on Reddit, and I'll literally like look at the posts and read the comments just so I could be like, oh my God, you guys need to. The Snyder community on Reddit has been very positive about this, and there's been this shift from Gunn is evil, Gunn can do nothing right. I've been noticing a lot more like respect the past, embrace the future vibes, and it's been very nice to see. First of all, because that's what Superman would do. Second of all, because James and Zach, as many people know, are quite respectful and friendly towards one another. One of Zach's first big movies, James wrote the script. James, as recently as like 72 hours ago, said to the press, Snyder did great things with Superman. Like, they are, by all means, very professional and respectful towards one another. I'm sure they have feelings about each other's work that are more positive and more negative, but generally speaking, I think that there was this very reactive period where a lot of the Snyder base was really upset about how DC Studios was mismanaged, and a lot of wires got crossed because a lot of Snyder haters looked at DC Studios' mismanagement and placed it all on Snyder, myself included, and a lot of Snyder fans looked at decisions Snyder made that didn't resonate with audiences and immediately said this was just because the studio got in the way. But now I think we're at the acceptance stage of grief with a lot of Snyder fans where they're like, wait a second, I'm glad I got to see the Snyder Superman movies. I'm glad he got to leave his impact on the character. James Gunn has gone so far as to say, I am informed in the way that I make this movie by the impact Zack Snyder left on Superman. And now maybe we can all have fun and enjoy this really hot Superman who looks a lot like Henry Cavill and is 10 years younger and hot. And maybe it is that simple.
There's always going to be a few on Twitter that and that's the case with everything. It's not just the Snyder fans. With every fandom, there's always the Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is pretty rough lately, but there's always a pocket of fandom where people are the loudest and they're just the worst. And you know what? If you love Cavill and you love what Zack Snyder did, dude, I'm a big fan of it too. Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition, great. Zack Snyder's Justice League, I think it's phenomenal. But I'm also grown enough to accept that, okay, it's over. We're starting something new, and it actually looks really good, and I trust the people making it, even if I am bummed that it ended. I was hyped when Cavill came back in Black Adam. I bought a freaking Hot Toys figure. I was like, oh, maybe I can start a collection for DC now. Sure enough, I sold it because I couldn't. But, I'll buy this. See, if this movie's good, I'll buy the Corn Sweat.
Yeah,
nice. I might buy the corn sweat as well.
These communities exist in these bubbles, and everything online. The comedy community works the same way. It's like, Brandon, what you said is exactly right. Like, the most famous improviser in the world is known to almost no one. But in the improv community, he's a god or she's a god. It's like we put so much gravity on these things, especially when we talk about it for a living. And it's like, people just want this movie to be good. Most moviegoers are just excited that they're going to get to go see this big, large-scale superhero movie that is so far past the smell test, right? It doesn't seem like it's a, cursed, problem-plagued film. It's so by all accounts, everything was positive. And James Gunn is one of the more transparent directors and writers in production. He's constantly documenting what's happening on his own private social media, behind the scenes photos of the set and, pages of script and whatnot. So it's like, he is one of the more accessible creators out there. And to have a movie of this scale kind of be as much of an open book as a large studio is going to make it be is really, is kind of an amazing thing to have for us, that both cover it for work, and also, I mean, I can identify 5 true fans of the genre right here on this panel, and I know the community that I have online are real fans as well. So it just all takes a little perspective. You just kind of have to put everything in its proper box. Like, yes, it means a lot to us, and we want it to be good, and we have our old biases and our old opinions, but like, really, at the end of the day, if this is an accessible film for the masses, this is going to be a huge hit. It is going to start a chain reaction of, I mean, movies for all the studios that will hopefully elevate to back to the level of the late 2000s, early 2010 Marvel movies, and that's exciting. That is just, there's just no other way to say it. There's not a lot of better words than, it's just exciting news and exciting prospects, and there's a lot to be hopeful for.
It's also, people are going to go see Mufasa tonight. It's just one last comment about the perspective of, we live in an echo chamber of people who are very well informed and care about this stuff. People are going to go see Mufasa tonight, and this trailer is going to play, and there's going to be people in the audience who think it's a Marvel movie.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
they're going to think he's an Avenger.
Yeah.
People. There are loads and loads and loads of people who didn't know that the X-Men couldn't cross over with the Avengers because they were in different studios.
Yeah.
Like, we all know, and that seems crazy to us, but like, you walk into a nail shop right now, you don't know anything about painting nails, they're going to be like, how do you not know how to do that? They're not, because they realize, I don't think we look like people who paint our nails. Well, not that
I'm getting some
wrong
French
with
tips.
that.
As soon as this is over, I'm going to get some French tips done.
I was just going to do them myself, but...
No.
But yeah, maybe not a perfect metaphor. But...
No, it's great. I'm just kidding.
Guys, I could sit here with you and talk about Superman all day. Unfortunately, we cannot do that. But I do want to have all of you go around one more time. Give me your final thoughts, anything you'd like to say, and go ahead and plug where the audience can find you on social media, YouTube, whatever. Lee, you want to go first?
Sure. Final thought, perfection. No, I genuinely am so excited for this. I love that a lot of the comics it's taking inspiration from, and just from the trailer, I love that we're getting Superman and friends. I love that Jimmy is going to be a focus, Lois is going to be a focus, the Daily Planet looks incredible. I love that this is not only a Superman film, but a Clark Kent film, and I think that that is the perfect way to introduce a new generation of Superman fans, and I mean, look up as the tagline kind of solidified all I need to know. Like, I'm looking up towards this, looking up for everything they do. Like, it just truly was such a great trailer, and I'm glad that I stayed up all night for it. Like, it's incredible. I am so hyped for this. You could find me at Lee Hawing, like Yeehawing on all platforms.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Lee, I don't get to shout you out as often as I would like. Lee is an editor here on ScreenCrush. He is our fastest, greatest editor. No offense to all of our other great editors, but he's my fave.
Wow.
And he's also a junior writer here on the channel. He helped me with the Penguin breakdowns, so thank you so much for joining us. Cam Caskey, final thoughts.
First of all, Ryan from ScreenCrush will never let me say this while he's on the show, but I watched that man for over a decade talk about comic book movies before there was a ScreenCrush. So it's so funny to be here on ScreenCrush now without him even there. It's like the teacher's gone and we can all watch a movie today. I would say that the thing that leaves me the most excited is that this trailer is all over the place. And for me, when Superman's task at hand is too focused, I get a little bored. And it's a problem I've had with all sorts of Superman stories because I know he's going to figure it out. I know he can do whatever he wants. And this movie, you see a character that's like Solaris, that sun creature, throwing stuff at Metropolis. You see a big kaiju. You see Lex Luthor. We haven't even seen the engineer from the Authority, who's referenced very strongly by James as a big figure in the movie. We see flashes of that character in the black costume who rumors say is named Ultraman or something. We don't even see Rick Flag Sr. from Creature Commandos, who we know is in the movie. Superman has a million things going on in this movie, and that's what's exciting to me because I know Superman will be able to defeat the villain at the end with his incredible might. What's interesting is to figure out how he is going to juggle all of these things at once. And this trailer makes me wonder, he's got a lot of things going on right now. What exactly is he going to do? I'm on social media as @Cameron Kasky, although I don't quite know what I have to offer on social media. And also, just it behooves me to point out that I have this Doug plushie from the ScreenCrush store that you can, of course, find online at the ScreenCrush shop. Thank you, everyone.
I don't know that that's actually available anymore, but thank you for the plug.
Well, that I get to say that I have that you don't.
It's a collector's item. Put it on eBay.
Yeah, what the fuck? I don't even have one. What's going on? Cam, I'm glad you brought up Ryan. Ryan couldn't be here because he's still in that Superman fetal position crying after watching the trailer. But be sure to watch the reaction video we have up on the channel right now. I got more emotional watching Ryan watch the trailer than I did just watching the trailer myself. So, yeah. Brandon Davis, first time here on ScreenCrush. Thank you for joining us. Final thoughts. Where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think the trailer rocks. I'll be yapping about it on Twitter and everywhere else that they let me post at Brandon Davis BD. I found it interesting, Cam, to your point about juggling all these things. I asked James after I saw the trailer how much of the movie is in the trailer, and he was just like, nothing. This is almost all from the beginning. And I'm paraphrasing. That's not the exact quote. But I think that's pretty exciting. I think it's relieving to see that the trailer was so good because there's so much pressure on this. James was stressed as hell on the set. Like, genuinely to the point, I was like, dude, like, are you okay? He said he was like, I'm miserable. And because of the pressure, because of the amount of work he's doing. And I bet for the people who make this, a day like today is really exciting. So I'm happy for them. I'm happy for us fans. I'm going to go watch Ryan cry when we hang up here and then get back to work. So thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, you bet. And that's so cool that you got to visit the set. Very cool. And to your point about him saying, mostly the beginning, I will not be surprised in the slightest if the like the kaiju and the Sun Eater and all of that is just like a montage at the beginning of the movie showing Superman being Superman. All right, Tommy, final thoughts?
Yes. I want to mention, because we didn't really talk much about Lois Lane. I think Rachel Brosnahan looks incredible. Yeah. The swagger, we're getting the confident, the things that make Lois Lane irresistible, like just how self-assured and how capable she is on her own. And that's what makes her relationship with Clark Kent and Superman so interesting. So that was really great, and I echo the other sentiments. Like, what we haven't seen is obviously the most exciting thing, and it was just a great 2 minutes and 22 seconds this morning. I'm grateful to live on the East Coast and have gotten a night's sleep and woken up to see it. But I'm really grateful to get a chance to talk about this with Cam and Brandon and Lee and Colton. I'm spoiled. I get to talk to you guys quite a bit, but it's nice to just sit around and talk, hopefully, about projects instead of being apologists or or trying to defend things that we like that maybe is getting rejected by the masses. So, what a refreshing way to spend a half an hour. I'm grateful for all you guys, and you can find me at Tommy Bechtold on all platforms. You can find me in the streets. We can square up.
Tommy, defend Craven. Go.
Craven?
Just kidding.
We gotta go. I'm craving more Superman trailers. That's all I'll say.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, I want to thank all of you so much for joining me. And to all of you watching, we want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. We also have a link to our Discord. We're going to be talking Superman there all day, and for the next few coming days, I'm sure Lee especially, will be in there talking a lot of Superman. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Colton Ogburn.
I hate that ScreenCrush and Ryan Airy. You see, Paul from the Heavy Spoilers channel, I also hate small dogs because obviously I'm a bad person. Now I know something that's really going to get them. I'm going to send them to a faraway, far distant city where they can never come back. I'm sending them to
Los Angeles, California.
Well, I don't know, boss. That seems kind of mean.
Shut up or I'll give you a fresh one. Now activate the Destructo Beam.
That's
That's right, the ScreenCrush store is going to come to a city near you, where we're going to bring you special guests, exclusive breakdowns, one-on-one fan meetups, and fan Q&As. Will me and Doug find our way home, or will heavy spoilers succeed in destroying our very way of life? Come to the live show to find out what happens next.